Hello, friends. I hope you're all doing great. Today, we are going to be reading the story I Double Dare You. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It helps us out a lot and also helps you in sending you notifications whenever we upload a new video. So don't forget to subscribe. Uh, we're going to be reading I Double Dare You. So let's get started. Walnut Grove was a wonderful place to spend summer vacation. Sammy was thrilled that his cousins, Silly and Sassy, were coming for a visit. Sammy's friends Rocky, a raccoon, and Bucky, a beaver, were excited to meet his cousins. Sammy's raccoon eyes always reminded his friends that he was special, so they expected his cousins to be special too. Sammy loved his cousins, but they always seemed to get into trouble. Sammy was going to make sure they did not create any problems. Silly and Sassy were visiting Walnut Grove for only 1 week. After all, how much trouble could two little squirrels possibly get into in 7 days? Sammy was about to find out. Sammy decided the best way to show Silly and Sassy around was to go on a hike in the woods. On their way to Deep Trouble Trail, they met Sammy's friends Rocky and Bucky. As they entered the trail, Sally yelled, "Let's play hide and seek! You're it, Sammy!" Sammy found Bucky right away. He was hiding in a log. Rocky climbed a tree to hide from Sammy, but he fell out of the tree and landed in a big pile of leaves. Sammy still had to find Silly and Sassy. He hoped they were not in trouble already. Silly and Sassy were easily distracted. They had already found another game to play. Silly saw some big sticks that fell from the tree Rocky climbed and said, "Sassy, I double dare you to play swords with me." Sassy remembered her mom telling them not to play swords because someone could get hurt, but she could not turn down the dare. Sammy had taken his eyes off them for only a couple of minutes, but that was all it took for them to get into trouble. Sammy looked everywhere for Silly and Sassy. He finally found them playing swords behind some pine trees. Sammy approached them as Silly screamed, "Sassy, you poked my eye!" "Why were you playing swords?" asked Sammy. "You both know that you could get hurt." Sammy answered, "It's Silly's fault I poked his eye. He dared me to play swords." Sammy replied, "Sassy, you cannot blame Silly for something you did. You should have said no. You have to take responsibility for your own actions." Sassy felt terrible about hurting Silly and responded, "I'm sorry for poking your eye, Silly. I didn't do it on purpose." Silly said, "I'm sorry too, Sassy. I was wrong to dare you to play swords with me, but I knew you couldn't turn down the dare." Sammy said, "Let's go find Bucky and Rocky so that we can all find another game to play." They caught up with everyone by Paradise Pond. Rocky and Bucky were having frog races. Rocky yelled, "Find a frog in the pond, then come and play with us." They all went in search of the biggest and fastest frog they could find. Sassy walked down to the pond, flipped over a rock, and was surprised at what she found. She screamed, "Yuck, a snake!" She was so scared she fell into Paradise Pond. Sammy helped her out of the water and said, "Sassy, this is just a garter snake. It won't hurt you." Everyone was so busy watching Sassy, they did not notice Silly and Bucky climbing up Deep Water Bridge. Sammy was the first to notice them and yelled, "Silly, Bucky, get down from there. Someone is going to get hurt." But they were too far away to hear Sammy's warning. Bucky and Silly were standing at the edge of the bridge looking down at Paradise Pond. Bucky said, "It's a long way down to the bottom." Silly cheerfully replied, "Yeah, it is, and I'm going for a swim. I dare you to jump with me." Bucky considered jumping and then said, "I don't know. I can't swim very well." Silly didn't even hear Bucky's response. Silly had already jumped in. He was a good swimmer, but the jump was very high. When Bucky looked down, Silly was already swimming to shore. Silly shouted, "Come on, Bucky! I double dare you to jump." Bucky jumped. It was a good thing that Bucky's dad, Woody, was watching everything. After Bucky jumped in the water, he had difficulty swimming back to shore. He screamed, "Help! Help me!" Just as Bucky went under the water, Woody swam up and grabbed him. All the animals stood and watched in disbelief. Woody helped him safely back to shore, then asked, "Bucky, can you tell me what happened?" Bucky responded, "Silly double dared me to jump in, so I had to do it. It's his fault I jumped." Woody thought carefully before replying, "Just because someone dares you to jump off a bridge doesn't mean that you should jump off a bridge. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. You should have said no. You knew that you could get hurt." Silly felt awful that he had dared Bucky to jump and said, "Bucky, I didn't know that you couldn't swim very well. I'm sorry. I thought that jumping off a bridge would be fun. I should have thought about our safety. I'm not going to dare anyone to do anything anymore." Sammy and his cousins were happy that Bucky was not seriously hurt. At least today, everyone had learned a valuable lesson. It is important to take responsibility for your own actions. Sometimes that may be difficult. Silly, Sassy, and Bucky have learned not to blame anyone for their mistakes. They learn from them and apologize when they are wrong. Hopefully, in the future, everyone will remember to think before they act. Sammy cannot believe that Silly and Sassy had been in Walnut Grove for only one day. How much more trouble could they possibly get into? Only time will tell. The end. So, the moral of this story is to never be forced to do something that you know is wrong because it can be really unsafe. I hope you enjoyed the story. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.